Morning, morning. Sorry for the delay. Time got away from me. And then I was like, oh, I have 5 minutes to set up, which was not enough. So sorry for that, but I'm here now. We're good to go. And then that gave people time to join ahead of time. So yeah, I had posted this picture in my community tab because I love Kundank's art. I always have. She makes beautiful portraits. Don't get me wrong, I love Mariola as well, but there's just something about this artist that I'm always drawn to. And so she had just come out with this one. So I had shared it in the community post, and then I thought, you know what? I really want to color that one. And so I thought, why not just do it on a live stream? And I will use Crayola pencils because I've actually had a few requests to do hair with Crayola pencils. I know a lot of people can't afford more expensive pencils. And to be honest, the pencils I typically use for hair aren't the more expensive ones. My favorite for hair are Derwent Pro Color. They are a little pricey, but not awful. Believe it or not, Polychromos is not a popular one for hair for me because I don't like the way it comes. But Pro Color from Derwent is my go-to. Believe it or not, my other go-to is Black Widow. And usually it's just something with a hard enough lead that still allows me to get that flicking motion and coverage, but also just build and build upon layers to create, hair. So yeah, so it'll be really fun to try this with Crayola. I have done a tutorial with Crayola pencils, which was one reason I was delayed. I was trying to find some of those colors. So I was torn on her hair color. The link to everything is in the description below, and then Nightbot, as always, will spam it throughout the stream. You know how Nightbot loves to do that, so don't worry. The list of the artist here, the paper I use, because obviously I had to print this from my printer, which I have a new printer, by the way. Now I'll have to do a video on that. And then, yeah, the pencils. But yeah, so when it came to hair for her, I don't know, I really wanted to do a brown hair color. I know that seems so vanilla, but I was torn between a brown and more of a maroonish color. I don't want to say pink and I don't want to say red. It would definitely be more of a maroon leaning color. But I keep going back to the brown. So I think that's what I'm going to do, is stick with the brown because that's what I pictured first. And I just think that'll come out, hopefully come out how I want it to come out. So let's see who we've got here. I may miss a name or two when I scroll up, but hi, Jamie and Brooke and Tiffany and Valerie and Desiree and Jasmine and Kathleen and Kristen, and anyone I missed. Okay. So first thing you need to know about coloring hair. I have tons of hair tutorials, by the way, on my channel. I used to do them all the time. I just kind of took a break. I still color hair all the time, though, because it's like my, I don't know, therapy. But the first thing you need to know about hair is the technique matters more than the pencils. Now, everyone has their own technique to creating hair. I am a fan of flicking my colors, flick motions. So that is my style. I also tend to just flick everything, even like flower petals. So clearly that's just my go-to for all. But yeah, so mine is a little bit more tedious. However, I love the way it creates more depth. It makes it look like it has more strands. My favorite pencil in the world to color with is Prisma, except when it comes to hair. I'm not a big fan of Prisma for hair, simply because they're too soft and they don't quite work with my style. That said, I will use them if I'm too lazy to go get my preferred pencils to sharpen these. But yeah, my favorites are Derwent Pro Color. Black Widow does excellent for hair. Gosh, what else is another one I tend to lean towards? Pablo's sometimes, sorry, I have to sharpen. Polychromos I will use, but they're not my favorite. Let me make sure I got these colors in order. So yeah, we'll see how this turns out, but I have done hair with Crayola and they turn out pretty good. You're not going to get the exact same results if I were using my Pro Color, but that's because the Pro Color are meant to layer upon layer. In fact, they're honestly designed for fur and hair. They're ridiculously hard, low pigment payout, but it allows you to build depth. So just keep that in mind if you're comparing budget Crayolas to other pencils I might use for hair. Let me sharpen this. Ugh. But I usually do take requests and make hair tutorials out of just about any brand. And the most commonly requested these days was Crayola, so I decided why not? So here we are. We are going to do a brown. Like I said, it's going to be kind of a, I don't know. I didn't get to play with it much, but when you do hair so often, you kind of just start pulling colors and make it work. So we'll see. So the colors I've pulled from Crayola, if you're following along with Crayola, you don't have to actually follow this picture specifically. However, 2 winners today will receive this PDF. So if you want to get the PDF, you can enter the giveaway. Nightbot will spam it at some point. No, I did not draw this. This is Kundank's art. Like I said, everything is in the description below. And then, of course, Nightbot will spam it eventually. Is Nightbot even working? Normally, it's bugging us by now, but I don't see it. Well, I'm sure it'll go in there. Let's see. I actually own the Crayola signature pencils. They're okay, not bad. Crayola is not a bad brand. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily make it my go-to, but that's just because I've been spoiled over the years. So let me zoom us in. Now, the biggest thing you need to keep in mind is, like I said, it's not always the pencil. Technique matters. And what I really want you guys to gain from this is more so the technique, but don't follow, how to word this. I mean, follow my technique, but kind of twist it to make it your own. I don't know how else to put it. So here are the colors I've selected. My biggest piece of advice, if you're first new to coloring hair, and I am going to do an in-depth video here soon because someone had asked, is how to pick colors to create hair. But study pictures of hair. I would like pull up redheads and just look for all the weird and wacky colors of like a fiery redhead color. I do have a tutorial on my channel, and I think it had like 8 pencils. I mean, you can't get away with it. Fiery red is like ridiculous in the number of colors, but brown hair is just as complex. You want to make it auburn? That makes it even more complex. So I have decided to go with black, the color beaver, the color brown, the color burnt sienna, the color tan, and the color sand. Now I may add something else, but we'll see. These are the ones I'm going to start with. I may not end up coloring all of her hair in the stream today, and that's just because hair takes me quite a while. If you've ever watched my hair tutorials on my channel, you'll know that it does take quite a bit of time to do hair, but I will get as much of it done as I can, and at least you'll have the technique down as well. So if you're going to do hair, you need sharp points because there's nothing uglier than a blunted edge. You'll basically undo all the work you've been doing. So I am going to be twisting and turning this a lot, but that is for the sake of my wrists. So just bear with me on that. Oh, I need to get my brush out. And then, of course, warning, there will be a lot of sharpening. These do hold their points a little longer, though, so at least we have that going for us. Hi, Elise and Lee and Polly and anyone I missed. just keep in mind, I can check chat as often as possible, but it's hard at times. So I'm going to start with my black. And I use a very light motion here, a very light flicking motion. And one thing you kind of almost want to start making as a muscle memory is twisting your pencil. Flick, flick, twist, flick, flick, twist, flick, flick, twist. I do it now without thinking about it. I only realized I was doing it without thinking about it when someone pointed it out. But the reason I'm constantly twisting is to keep my point as sharp as possible so that it doesn't wear down faster. But just keep that in mind. So right here we have a shadowed edge under her wave of luscious hair. I want this hair. But this is obviously going to be darker. So I'm just going to start with some light flicks to kind of get that black in there. And obviously I won't be using all of my colors in here because she won't have any highlights when it's lipped under like that. Okay, so now I have beaver. I was trying to find my dark brown, but couldn't find it, so this will have to do. But as you can see, it's just a really light flicking motion. This section will probably be the least interesting to watch. All right, now I have my brown, and I'm still coming in from the tops and then leaving some white in the center. And one thing is with each color or new color I bring, when I'm coming from the darker sections, they all start at the same point, but then as each color I bring out, that color comes closer to the center. So like black only went so far, beaver only went so far, brown is coming closer to the center. Excuse me, I have to cough. But that's because your hair naturally, lightens towards your highlights. And then by overlapping them, you get a nice set of depth because then you'll have multiple colors that you'll see through here. All right. Goodness. Hope I don't cough this whole thing. I have used the Verathin for hair. I'm not a big fan of the Verathin. More specifically, just because my go-to for hair is Pro Color, which sucks because I know if anyone ever wants a portrait color along, I'm usually breaking out Pro Color, which they don't own. So, but those are my preferred. Okay, so burnt sienna now. Now, instead of starting my burnt sienna here at the tops and bottoms where I have all my dark colors, I'm actually going to go kind of like more of a midway and then bring this closer to the center. Still leaving a little white space, keeping at light flicking motion. She's got like a few straggler hairs right here, so I'm just going to kind of flick those in. I know it doesn't look like much right now, but look, we just finished one little itty bitty section. All right, so now we are going to tackle this area. So when I do hair, I work in clumps. If I wasn't, or I guess if I'm in the mood, I will do all of the base. However, I highly recommend if you're doing hair to work in the clumps, especially if you have gray scale artwork, you can easily find those clumps. So for example, right here, this section would be its own clump. This section would be its own clump. This section here, and then down here, winding back to here, would be its own. And the reason I do the clumps like that, especially if you're new to hair, is because you've got to be, diligent about getting your layers down. And until you get used to, okay, well, I can darken here, my highlights here. Sometimes I ignore the artist highlight because I'm like, why is that the highlight? Other times, whatever. But yeah, it's sometimes easier just to work in clumps. As long as you keep your strokes really light, it won't look like you worked in clumps in the end. Now she's got some straggler hairs here that are really fine. I don't even know if they're showing up on camera. See the little stragglers? I always tackle the stragglers last because sometimes I'll end up turning that into a full clump of hair, but I want to wait until I see the rest of her hair before I decide if that's going to be a clump or a strand, a loose strand, or if I'm just going to erase it because it makes no sense. Because from this angle, it kind of looks silly, whereas on this side, these free pieces look good. Now, if you want to get really advanced, you could sit there and create your own, but I'm not going to terrify you guys with that step yet. All right, so I'm going to take my black and I'm going to start on this small section here. And I'm actually going to add a little bit of darkness where these two clumps meet. And no, not everything will start with black. All right, now I have my beaver color. I have to angle this a little different. Again, light strokes. There's nothing worse. Oh, by the way, this is brown. Nothing worse than having to erase it and start over. One time I did a whole thing and then I had to erase it and I was like, well, there's 20 minutes of my life. Okay, now I'm gonna skip over and grab my tan color and bring it from the center in. All right. Hi, Shannon. All right. Oh, are we talking about weather? Because weather here is hot one minute, cold the next. It was like 70 and cold the other day, and now we have a heat warning. I swear, Utah. All right, I'm going to take my black, but only in small parts. I'm going to tackle this section here. So I want to get the curvature of her hair right here. So I'm just going to slightly put that in. And then up top, sorry for the angles, I'm just adding it in a few spots. But not a lot because this part of her hair is fully exposed to the light, so it shouldn't be that dark. Okay, so I'm going to take beaver. Same thing, I'm going to use this kind of lightly just in some of the more shadowy areas where her hair is coming down. And one thing, I have had questions from people about, it hurting your wrist doing the flicking motion. So here's the thing, like if you watch my hand and my wrist, I can keep my hand flat and I'm just doing this. I'm really doing this lightly and I'm not putting a lot of strain on my wrist. So with the amount of hair I color, which anyone who's watched my channel long enough knows I color a lot of hair, then you probably know I should have hand cramps by now, but I don't because I really use my fingers for the flicking as much as possible. I'm not flicking my wrist. My wrist is usually flat. Does that mean my wrist is not working? No, because something has to move the joints, but it's less pressure if you do that. Okay, so now I've got my brown. See, I'm still building from the bottom with this part. Adding it in up here. And when you finish a section of hair or even the whole head of hair, never assume you're done. Sometimes I'll put the colors down, finish a few more, and then come back and be like, oh, that needs some work. Okay, so burnt sienna. This one I'm starting from about here, rather down here. Again, still flicking my way towards the center. Turning my pencil. When you're trying to train yourself, just say flick and turn, flick and turn. And then you'll do it without thinking. Okay, and then this is tan. And you'll see I am starting it from about here rather than in the dark areas. Now these aren't very opaque, so you could easily go over the areas and it not really affect it. But why waste your pencil? Now up top, I'm adding it because that is where her roots are. All right. Then I have sand, which I'm only pulling from the very edges of my last color towards the center. And then grasping any little white spots I purposely left. Okay. Now here's where you start going back and forth between colors. I'm going to start with my brown and add a bit more of that. And I'm going to pull it out a little further in some spots. Okay. I'm going to grab my tan. What's nice about these is they're not super dusty, considering they're a budget pencil. Now this is my, what is it, sand? Just kind of going back in the center there. Okay. I'm going to work on this section right here now, and then I'll start fussing more with this other one. Like I said, I go back and fuss once I start seeing them come together, because then I'll be like, oh, okay, that's not quite right. So I'm going to add my black right here and to cut off this little strand. Very minimal right here. I'm going to take it through her roots though. Okay, now we're going to switch to beaver. And like as I'm creating this color, if I feel it's too light of a brown, that's easily fixed. So that's why I don't like go through and do a ton of layers at first, because I want to leave enough tooth on the paper to take more layers in case I want to darken it up. So see here how her hair comes around and this clump separates. I'm going to take my brown and purposely mark that off, because this section is going to be lighter than this section. All right, now we have brown. Don't worry if you get pencil on the scalp, you can erase it. Problem with doing hair on camera is I tend to zone out. Just why I don't do a live stream hair sessions as often, because then I'm like, oh, right, people are around, but I do zone out. Oh, hi, Melissa. So it shouldn't hurt your hand if you're doing a light flicking motion. Like I said, I'm using my fingers and a very light flicking motion. No like heavy flicks, no heavy pressure. I'm not doing this with my wrist. I'm literally doing this. And believe it or not, it has never hurt my wrist at all. And I do hours upon hours upon hours upon more hours of hair. There is a technique I do with hair with Prisma that's a lot faster. I just hate my Prismas for hair, which I'm sorry to my Prisma babies, is the only time I'll ever say I hate them for something. Okay, burnt sienna. But I'm using my fingers to create that flick. My wrist is actually flat on the page. I've actually done this wearing one of those wrist braces. Oh, I wonder if it's up here. No, I moved it back downstairs. Could have put that on to show you. Then my wrist really couldn't move. I'm going to bring this down a little. Again, I don't want to add too many layers because I know I'm going to come back and add more. All right, so now we have our tan. And another big thing you need to keep in mind when you're creating your highlight section for the hair is your highlight should not just be one big fat clump of a line or even at all. If they're even, then that means it's not realistic, right? If you have just a big white spot right across here, when your hair is in the sunlight, do you just have one big line? No. It's all about the weight of your hair and where it falls and the sunlight touches it. So like, as you can see, I have a highlight here, but it's getting bigger right here. So keep that in mind. Like your highlight area, don't ever just like go straight across. Give it some room. And then like, don't be afraid to add some colors, make it a little darker here and there. Okay, now I've got my sand color. I'm not quite sold on this color yet, but I really don't want to dig through my Crayolas because they are not organized. They're still in the box. All right. Like I said, I'm ignoring these wispies for now until I decide, because I may, to be honest, looking at this page, I mean, she's got the wispies here, but I actually might erase those. Not totally sold, but we'll see. All right, so here's what we have so far. This is not done though, because I want to get some more hair completed around it before I start adding in more color. In fact, I could probably, like you can see it's the layers forming, but they're by no means done. Like I have quite a few layers to add back in, but I'm just kind of getting like my base down so that I can be like, okay, I've got my highlight here, I'm gonna go here. All right, so now I'm going to work on this little strand here. I've got my brown. I may actually go through and darken her hair a little more. I don't know. We'll see. So what I do when I'm doing little wispies of hair is I pull strands out. So like her line work went here. I just went that way with my little line there. Now I've got my brown. Same thing, I take a few stragglers and make strands of my own because hair does not move in just one singular little clump. And then this is just burnt sienna. Using that more here at the bottom just to lighten that up. Okay. So I think what I'll do is grab this section here now. And I'm not going to use my black. Instead, I'll start with beaver. Now, you always have to look at the artist's work. Like, she's got short layers in her hair. And so, like, this one here is, like, almost crossing over. It's actually kind of weird. What I'm going to do is change that up. Instead of this being like a wispy piece of hair that crosses over, well, maybe I could. I don't know. She doesn't seem to have as many layers on this side, so I'm trying to keep it as even as possible. But she's got layers to her bangs, layers right there, layers here. Okay, fine. We'll make it layers. Sometimes you have to sit and debate with yourself. So if it's going to be layers, I'm obviously going to have a little bit more lightness at the ends. So I'm just using my beaver color. And then I've got brown. Just kind of building that from the top here. I'm going to make this part here a little bit darker. Okay. And then burnt sienna. Again, when I go to the ends, I fray them out. Don't follow the artwork exactly. She's got wispy, flowing hair. All right, and then I've got a little bit of tan. I'm just going to put it here at the bottom. If you do get this PDF, I printed the light grayscale. The dark grayscale is very, very dark. Yeah, the colors are black, beaver, brown, burnt sienna, tan, and sand. I'm going to take a teensy bit of my black here. Just add a little something, something. Like I said, I go back and constantly tweak with the hair color. It's never done. Okay. So I am going to now work on this section, and then I may go back and darken this depending on how this one comes out. So this one is a little bit lighter up in here, so I'm actually starting with my brown color. Just adding that there. Following the natural arc. I'm going to combine these two to save me some hassle. She's got some crazy wispy hair. Okay. Do you want to make this part darker? One thing I am going to do is take beaver and just kind of help define this little curl right here. Okay. All right, back to my brown. I'm just flicking that up because I'm going to have highlights here, a little bit here. Some of the grayscale I'm kind of ignoring. When you go to ignore it, kind of look at it from afar and be like, is that hair there? Is that a gap there? Because you kind of have to decide before you commit to putting your colors down. Did I get an email? I have been rather behind on emails. Long story short, I'm on burnt sienna, by the way, now. Long story short, I ended up leaving my job that I've been working since November and burning myself out. So as of Thursday, I am no longer working. But yeah, I'm just now catching up on emails and all that stuff. So no, I haven't seen it, but I will be, that's my plan for Monday, is checking my inbox that has been neglected. Because I have a lot of free time now. It's weird. I'm like, tomorrow's Monday, but I guess it doesn't have to be, does it? Especially with the kids on summer break. It can be what you want it to be. That is until you get another job. All right. Let's see. Okay, now I've got our tan color. Bring that through here. All right. I need to darken this one right here a little more. I don't like it so light. But again, like I said, finish those sections, and then reassess. In fact, maybe what I'll do is I'll zoom in and out so you guys can see what I mean, because I usually will hold a page farther away from me to kind of assess what color needs to go where or what needs to be darkened, because when you're up close, sometimes it's hard to see it. Okay, so now we have, not that color, we have my sand color. This is like a really light beigey brown thing going on. It's not quite cream. Okay. Let me see if I can pull up my whatchamacallit, my camera, so I can zoom in just a tiny bit more. I don't want to be zoomed in too far just because then I'll have to remember to zoom out. But like, as you see it right now, right? Already, I want to come back in and darken this a little more because I'm not going for light brown, although the light brown does look pretty. I want it a little darker. So I'm going to come in and add some more layers to darken this up. She's almost like a dirty blonde at the moment with these colors here. And then I'm going to darken this, and then I'm going to come back through and darken this as well. So let's zoom in a teensy more. I don't want to be too far in to where my hand gets in the way. All right. So I'm going to go back to my black and kind of start working on adding more layers where I need to darken the hair, which also means I may pull the color out further. So like where I stopped here, I may end up pulling the darker colors down more. You can also add more colors. I mean, I prefer to use like 7 or 8 pencils for hair, but for the sake of sanity, well, I did 6. I don't know how much sanity that brought you guys, but I could do more is what I'm saying. All right. Got that. I need to make sure this is defined. Okay. So now we've got our beaver color. It's like a really, kind of reminds me of a espresso brown. I'm going to pull this one down a little bit further. Start encroaching on those highlighted areas. I want this one a little darker too. The one nice thing about the Crayolas is they don't dull out, so you're not sharpening as much. But I mean, it's kind of like a Pro Color. I swear those things never have to be sharpened. I only just replaced one color a while ago and was like, oh, finally. All right, brown. Yes, the flicking does work for fur. I just hate coloring fur, which I know we've all discussed because people will be like, well, what's the difference? I don't know. I just don't want to color fur. I enjoy coloring hair, even short hair on a portrait. But if you put it on a furry animal, I'm like, ugh, I don't want to do it. So see, I'm bringing this brown up higher than it was before. Adding more strokes up here as well. This is where I tend to get lost in my own thoughts, so I have to remind myself. It's rather therapeutic if you just sit here and flick hair. I could sit there and do this for days. Which is why I love like how Mario Labudek has those hair inspirations. It's literally just a wall of hair. All right, burnt sienna. Again, I'm keeping these very light because if I need to add more layers, I don't want to put too much down. Now, of course, this is Crayola, so it's not going to throw out a ton of pigment, but eventually you run out of tooth no matter what. So I'm pulling this color already into my highlight section a little more. Also pulling it down here a bit. But I definitely want to darken up her highlight. Okay, so now I'm on to tan. And this is the one that, the last one before my highlight color. So I'm going to bring this one in quite a bit. And then I may even go back and darken it up more. We'll see. I just don't want dirty blonde. Although I will say the color selection with Crayola, you could easily make a pretty nice blonde color. Not just dirty blonde, like an actual blonde, a platinum blonde. Now I'm taking sand. Again, keeping it light because I don't want to burnish. All right, and then I'm gonna go back to why is black sitting there. Oops, I swapped my colors around. I hold them always in my hand if you're curious as to why I pull them out so fast. Okay, brown, just darkening right here. Let's see. I'm a perfectionist when it comes to hair flicking. One little strand of color and I'm like, nope, don't like it, needs to be fixed. And I'll spend like a half hour on it. But as long as you're using a pencil that can go down light enough and not, and it gives you that give, it's great. That's why I like the Pro colors. Crayola does do well because, I mean, these aren't heavily pigmented or soft by any means. So you're not getting a ton of color. All right, now I'm going to take my beaver and just darken right here a little more. Okay. Yeah, there. See, already darker. Yeah, a lot of people will use marker as a base. The reason I don't use marker as a base for my hair is because it actually messes with the number of layers I can put down on the paper. So that's the reason I don't use marker. However, I can sit here and flick a bajillion layers of hair. So it's to each your own, you know. But that's why I don't use marker. I've had that question before as to why I don't use marker. And that is the answer. Okay, so I've darkened this up now. So you can see it's a little more dark. I may even darken it more later, but we're going to keep going with the rest. All I need to do now is adjust this one here so it doesn't look so blondie. So I'm going to take my beaver color. Like if you want to get a base color down, I would recommend almost just taking your lightest pencil and putting that down as your base, you know, your highlight color, and then going over that. That will save you on layering, and I do that sometimes. However, I prefer to flick in my layers because depending on the hair color I'm creating, there are instances where I'll actually leave white space. So I don't like to kind of put that marker, or not marker, my highlight color down because I may be like, well, crap, now I got to erase it. Okay, now I'm going to take brown. get that a little darker. A little or a lot. Okay. I'm even gonna add a little bit more up here. All right. Let's see, now I'm going to take my burnt sienna. I'm just kind of, like I said, we're just adding more layers to darken this up a bit so she's not dirty blonde. She's got brown hair. And then I just gotta keep turning my pencil. Oh, that's her ear. I was like, what is that right there? Looks like she's wearing some monster earrings. All right. Now I've got my tan. Take all the way to the bottom. Just keep in mind, hair is a process. Like, it's never just done right after you put down the colors. It's like your first draft, and then you just keep going. But after I like darken this up just a little bit, now that I have an idea of the color I want from the colors I have, I'll put down that first layer and then I'll go back and darken it up later. Because like I said, you kind of want to stand away from it, like hold it away from you and be like, okay, yeah, that's the color I want. So we're getting closer, but we'll keep going with hair. All right, so let's see. These weird straggler hairs, like I said, I'm going to leave these for now because I'm not sure. These ones at the bottom make more sense than the weird wispies up top, but still, I'm going to leave them for now and debate on that one. All right. So this is her ear right here. So I am going to get this section going right here. So I'm going to take my black again. Such an odd little spacing. I might actually just flick hair into there. So we're going to take black up here at the top, not covering her ear. I'm going to darken that one. Okay, so she's got strands that are coming down like that, like that. I want this clump a little bit darker. I know she has a massive highlight right there, but I'm making it darker. Like I said, sometimes you need to just ignore the grayscale. Like right here, this little section here, I'm actually going to make a shadowy area, not air, of hair. So I don't know what the heck she was making right there, but I'm making it shadowed. It's going to be a clump of hair hiding under all this other hair. All right, so now I've got our beaver color. For this section here, I want this one a little darker because it's just a little clump that's tucked behind her neck. Okay. All right, so we're going to keep that moving along. Like I said, this one in here is going to be a little shadowy area. So I'm going to take the beaver color a little bit thicker in here. Okay. And then just keep on going. I'm going to outline this here. I highly recommend outlining if you can. It kind of helps you keep, you know, that whole trick where you used to like outline something with a crayon before you actually colored in it, and for some reason you never had a problem staying in the lines after that? Kind of does the same with hair for me. Otherwise I'll get a little flick happy and go, whoops. Just gotta twist right here. Okay. Let's see. Yeah. All right, now we've got just the regular brown color, and I'm going to use that just to fill in this space down here. Because if this is tucked behind her neck, it's not going to have a lot of highlight now, will it? Still starting at the base here, because like I said, I'm making this section darker than the highlight the artist left. So I'm going to keep going here. And then you do still want to kind of follow the natural curve of the hair. I mean, you don't have to follow the artist exactly, but still you want to move your flicking in that general direction. Like if I was flicking just down this way, it would kind of, the hair would lose its flow. Just grabbing these straggler pieces down here. Okay. Hi, Mona. All right, burnt sienna. Yeah, so my problem is I always want to keep adding more and more layers, and that's why I said, you know, like I'll step back from it and then be like, oh yeah, I've got to go back in and do all of this. But I just keep going till I don't know, till it looks right. What looks right to me may not look right to you, and vice versa. Or just go till your hand cramps and you're like, screw it, it's done. That's a fast way to get out of it. But I don't get a hand cramp, like I said, because I'm using a very light motion. All of my layers are very light, and this is indeed one of the few times in my coloring career that I layer and layer and layer, and then I layer some more. Otherwise, I'm just smushing prismas together and calling it a day. So, and that's similar to how I do Prisma hair. More smushing, less flicking and layering. Okay, then we've got tan. Excuse me. Everyone's sick in my house, and I'm trying to avoid the plague that's spreading. Nothing like summer colds. I swear it's like they have just as many colds in the summer now as they do when they're around all their friends at school. It's like you can't escape these freaking germs. The only problem is then they're all home all day already. And it spreads faster when everyone's home. At least if some of them were in school, I could isolate. But right now it's like, well, we're all here. Okay, so I'm going to take my sand color. Okay. Let's see. Now I'm going to take beaver again. Kind of go through and darken up this one little spot. And then get some more layers in here. That's why when I do hair tutorials, I usually just do a section or I speed them up and I don't do them like real time. Back in the day, when I first started doing hair, like a page like this would take me like 4 hours easily, if not longer. But over the years, I've gotten quicker at it. It'd probably still take me 2 hours to get it, not just all the layers down, but all that fine tuning. So, but I mean, at least I've cut my time in half, I guess. I'm gonna kind of take that one straggler hair and pull it out. Okay. And then I've got my brown. Again, I'm just darkening this a little more. It looks a lot lighter on camera, by the way, than in person. It's like the story of my life. I really want my camera to just be user-friendly and auto-adjust. I cannot seem to find a camera that can just be smart and auto-adjust without me tweaking every little setting. Just don't have the patience for it. I got things to do, like color hair, not tweak camera settings. So that's why after every stream I take a picture so that you can kind of see it a little better. Because like on camera, she looks a lot lighter than right now in person. Lighter hair color. Not saying it's super dark, but it's darker. Okay. Now I've got my burnt sienna. Just adding a few more layers. And then what I'll do after I finish this little section is I'll zoom it out so you guys can see it while I sharpen up. Got to keep those points nice and sharp. Feel like you forgot how to color hair. I think that's probably the one thing I'll never have to worry about because I usually have a habit of like when I'm stressed, just coloring the hair on portraits and then kind of blowing off the rest. So yeah, I don't know if that's gonna ever be a problem for me. It could one day though. I was doing a lot of diamond painting, so last time I did a portrait, I was like, oh, do I even remember? But it's like riding a bike. All right, by the way, this is tan. Just need this more over my highlight. Too much highlight, not enough brown. Okay. What I'll do also after I zoom out and while I'm sharpening is I'll pull the first winner of the PDF. Only 2 people are going to win PDFs today. And basically how I work PDFs is you'll enter using the keyword that Nightbot gave you. Although last stream, Nightbot ignored all entries, so hopefully it doesn't do that again. And it doesn't matter what country you're in because I'll be emailing the file. However, I actually go and purchase this from the artist again for each winner. So I go and I'll be buying it twice for her so that she, gets the income for it. But you'll just have to email me and I will shoot it your way. PDF giveaways are by far the easiest. Although I realized after looking at my thumbnail, it probably looked like I was giving away Crayola, which I am not. So, sorry. There was a little confusion there. Okay. So let me zoom out real quick. If I can remember. My settings. Okay, that's fine. So there's her hair so far. But like I said, it's actually darker in person. But like already I can tell I'll probably touch this up a little more, maybe. But we'll get started on these sections next after I sharpen. We'll go from there. So what I'm going to do is, if you haven't entered already, you can enter for the second round because like I said, there will be 2 winners, so don't worry about it. But Nightbot has given you the keyword. I need to take a drink of water. Nightbot has given you the keyword, and then all you have to do is type in the keyword. The caps don't matter. I just put it in caps for emphasis. And then, yeah, I will put my email address and I'll pin it in the chat and you will email me. The giveaway is for in-stream only. So if anyone is watching this on replay, it is not applicable. The giveaway will be over. And then, of course, as always, I have to do the usual disclaimers. The giveaway is not sponsored, endorsed, yada, yada, by YouTube or Kundank's Art. I'm using my own money to purchase it and do the giveaway. So there we go with all that fancy schmancy. So let's see who the winner of the first one is. It's Brooke. I swear. Brooke has like some luck with Nightbot. I think Brooke and Nightbot have secret deals. But congrats, Brooke. I know you have my address, but I'm going to put it in there anyway. If I spelled it correctly. And then I'm going to pin it. Ugh, really hate how these stupid emoji things are in the way now. Not a fan of that. Okay. So yeah, just email me and then I will shoot that your way. Let me sharpen. And again, don't worry. Like I said, there's more opportunities. When I go to sharpen, I know it looks sharp, but then if you compare it to this one, it's not sharp. It's sharp as I need it. You could do hair with like, a little bit duller, but don't worry. Like, I mean, I just like a sharpened edge because I like to sit there and flick in almost every single strand of hair. That's practically what I'm doing. Whereas, some people just want to get the flow of the hair and not necessarily the strands, which is fine, by the way. There's no wrong way to do this. This is my way. I should clarify that because there's tons of other people who do hair totally different ways, and there's nothing wrong with their way either. This is just Corey's method. And this is what I've been using for years, and I don't know, stuck in my ways. And since my wrists don't protest, I'm going to stay with it. All right, so yeah, that's her hair right now. So flowy. Does anyone else just wish they had, well, one, a really pretty youthful face like this with no wrinkles, and 2, that hair. Actually, my hair is long like that, but I don't know if I could style it and look all flowy like that. All right, so where shall I start now? I think I'm going to grab these stragglers right here first. So I'm going to start with Beaver. You never win. It's all random. And apparently Nightbot just has a thing for Brooke. Because she wins a lot, but it's not rigged. So I don't know. Someone will have to ask Brooke if she says some sort of lucky charm type thing before she enters. I'm going to leave it zoomed out just so you guys can see the colors. Hopefully that's okay. I mean, you're seeing the technique and the colors anyway, but let me know if it's too far out. All right, now we got brown. Yeah, one time Shannon won and didn't even enter. Nightbot was just like, oh, hi, Shannon. That was Was that last weekend? No, it was the weekend before. I didn't stream last weekend because it was Father's Day. Forgot about that. But guess what? Now that I'm jobless, I'll be able to stream more because Monday doesn't matter anymore. I'm not even cranky that tomorrow's Monday. I'm like, Monday. Glorious Monday. Mondays can be pretty and happy again. I'm not actually jobless. I have my Etsy store. I just got to build it back up now because that is my income. Ooh, that is her shoulder, by the way. Weird. So yeah, anyone who gets this PDF, just note, and I only noticed this right now, there's a very faint line right here, and that is her shoulder. So, FYI. Oh my gosh, do I have a freaking sketching pencil nearby? This might actually bother me. They're on the other side of my room. Otherwise, I would grab one and draw it in. But yeah, if you have this PDF, be aware this line here is not stray hair. It's her shoulder. Okay. My Etsy store, by the way, I'm on Burnt Sienna. My Etsy store was actually just starting to take off when I had taken this job, and then I had to scale it back. It just kind of sucks because now I have to go back to doing all the hard work to get it to scale up again. So I feel like I lost a lot of momentum since November. So I'm working extra hard on that, and we'll see where it goes. All right, I got tan. I'm also working on my novel. Maybe I'll actually print it one day. Okay. So we got that little wispy of hair right there. I'm going to tackle these pieces in here, although this one ends, I'm going to say it ends with that layer. Okay. Actually, I'm going to tackle that. It's interesting because she's got some spaces in between. Do I want to cover that? Yeah, I'm going to, because otherwise it would be kind of a weird break off with her skin, because basically the shoulder goes like that. And that would be weird. So I'm just going to make the hair come all the way down. Oh, sorry. Were you looking for, let's see. Are Crayola the best for coloring hair? No, not for me. However, the reason I did this video, by the way, this black, if I didn't say that, the reason I did it with Crayola is because I've had a lot of requests to color hair with Crayola. I had done a tutorial a while back using Crayola, and they're not bad pencils, but no, they're not the best. The best ones, in my opinion, and everyone's opinion is different, so please take that into consideration, but the best for me are the Derwent Pro Color. I absolutely love them for hair. Oh my gosh, if they could give me just a couple more colors, that'd be glorious. But yeah, I love the Derwent Pro Color. Believe it or not, I do not like using Lumis for hair or Derwent's, oh my gosh, Light Fast for hair. I will use polychromos sometimes, but I actually don't like the way they perform for hair as much as you think I would, but I will still use them. And then Black Widow is one of my favorite for hair. Something about the way the pigment lays down with the Black Widow, it just works great for layering up hairs with my style too. I should probably make that clear. With my coloring style, you have to keep that in mind. Okay, so now we're on Beaver. Maybe one of my mods could link my Etsy store, because I can't at the moment. I'm flicking hair. I'm in the flick zone. But this hair is kind of interesting. So see how she has like a highlight right there, but she got a strand of hair going over it. This should be shadowed for sure because of the way it's coming down. I'm not going to have a big highlight here, especially with a big clump of hair going over it. So like I said, you kind of have to use your own creative judgment. And same thing here. She's left open space for skin. However, I'm going to make it hair. So it's not going to be open anymore. It's all going to be hair. It's just going to be part of that one layered section. But the more comfortable you get doing hair, the more comfortable you'll be kind of ignoring the grayscale. And then you can do this same technique without any grayscale once you get even more comfortable. I can color hair like this without grayscale. It's just I'm too lazy. I did it the other day on a portrait though, and I was like, yes, I guess. Took me a little longer without my cheat lines. But again, like even if you have grayscale or not, you still have the same technique. You got to decide where your highlight is. You got to decide what is what. Sometimes you got to ignore the artwork and do what you think looks best. So just keep that in mind. It's okay to disagree with the artist that you don't think the hair should end here or highlight there. They won't be offended. All right. Do you want this clump right here a wee bit darker? I also want to make sure I define that one like that. Okay. Let's see. Now we've got brown. Oh, my monthly box. Actually, my monthly box, yes, I'm still doing those every month. They're doing really well. They actually normally sell out in 24 hours. The last 2 boxes have. Oh my goodness, the June box sold in not even 12 hours. I was like, ah! So by the time I went to announce it the next day on my Instagram, it was already sold out. So I was like, well, okay, never mind. It was in my stock. I did, however, increase the number of box releases because they've been selling out so quickly. So I'm now doing a larger count starting in July. And if those start selling out just as quickly, I'll keep increasing the amount. Because I've had quite a few people that were bummed they missed the June box. But the best piece of advice I can say is they typically release about 7, 8 a.m. Mountain Standard Time on the first of the month. I will put in my shop announcement if there's a reason the box is going to launch later. Like I had one that ended up launching closer to like noon. But that was because my shipment of trays got lost by USPS, of course. So yeah, but normally in the morning, if you're ready to go on the 1st, before noon, you'll snag one. After that, it's hard to say. Okay, so burnt sienna. But yeah, I do have the monthly boxes that come out on the 1st. In fact, that's what I'll be working on all next week, is getting those put together. I've gotten really good at creating chibi characters because I've been making cover minders for diamond painting. And I've been having to draw up my own characters. Oh, I wish I had it up here. I made a lemonade kawaii character. It was so cute. It was adorable. I might turn it into a coloring page so I can like print it out and color it with markers, but I've just been creating them on Procreate and drawing them up, but I made a super fat, plumpy, like lemon pound cake for a bundle I am releasing tomorrow. But I've been having fun designing the cover minders. A lot of them are chibi style, which is, I don't know, I think it's just cute. It's not even my preferred style of art. All right. Oh, thanks, Kelly. And hi, Kelly. Didn't see you there. Okay. All right, tan. I am not going to sell stickers. I know everyone and their mother under the sun sells stickers on Etsy. I have a few on there that I've created, but I'll be honest with you, stickers are just not worth the hassle. Like I said, everyone sells stickers. I make them on occasion if they're related to diamond painting and throw them in there for fun. But yeah, I'm not really gonna get into the sticker game. It's just not for me. I'll leave that to others. I may take all the cover minders I've been drawing up and create little fun coloring pages, but even then, those won't sell in my Etsy. I'll just put those in my Ko-fi shop. Ko-fi, I ruin it every time. So as you can see here, what would have been a highlight, I'm actually not making like the other highlight areas. Because like I said, it's got a big strand of hair going over it. You wouldn't really have a highlight there. You would have a shadow. And with the way her highlights are placed in the artwork, it's as if the sun's just beaming on her. But like it's kind of like if you get your portrait taken, right? The light is right on you. Drawing is fun. I actually, maybe I'll put it in the community tab. So I tried drawing a portrait myself. It's not done. It's rough. But yeah, maybe I'll put it in the community tab and just show you guys some of the stuff I've been working on. I'm slowly getting used to Procreate and all the whole layer thing. Oh my gosh, so many layers. And also like tweaking the settings on the pencil so it feels like a real pencil. I did get the cover to my iPad that feels like paper, which made like a world of difference. But yeah, it's kind of interesting. You should sell PDFs so we can print our own stickers. Now, would these be you mean like sheets of stickers that you can color in yourself or pre-colored? I mean, I could put them all the kawaii characters I've turned into cover minders. I could easily turn into sheets to print out your own stickers. I don't want to be the one printing sticker sheets and selling those. But I'm more than happy to sell PDF versions of sticker sheets. I would probably end up having to open a different Etsy store though, because the way Etsy works, by the way, this is black, you have to kind of keep your products relevant in your store. If you're a whole mismatch of crap in there, it makes their search algorithm harder to decide what your store is. This is Beaver. So that would be something I'd have to put in a different store. But yeah, I could put them all together if people. But do people often print their own stickers, like sticker sheets? I mean, because don't you need like a Cricut or something? I don't. I know nothing about this, by the way, because I've never printed my own stickers. I have sticker paper. Technically, I could print my own stickers, like for coloring in. I think because I bought the PDF stickers from Sarah Renee Clark at one point. But yeah, like I don't know how people tend to do it. Like if they want stickers they can print and color themselves, or they just print them and cut them on their Cricut. I don't know. How do people enjoy doing that, or usually do that? Okay. All right, now I got brown. Because again, I want this a little darker. I spent all day yesterday turning a diamond painting pen on the lathe. And then, so I was being impatient. I had made so many like intricate bumps and grooves into the pen that it looked awesome. Like I loved it. And then I accidentally, when I went to the edge, nailed it and chipped off a chunk at the edge. I was like, "Ugh." So I now have to put it on my resin turning machine and patch the hole that I created. Oh my gosh, it took me like 3 hours to carve that bad boy because when you turn resin, it gets hot and bendy. You got to be gentle. So I was so mad that I chipped that one stupid spot. So yeah, I need to do that, which will take 48 hours to cure before I can even buff it and put it up on the store. That's what you get for being impatient. Let's see. Oh, sticker printer paper. Yeah, I have sticker printer paper for like my regular printer. It's just what I was curious about, I guess, is more like, do people like to be able to color them in themselves? But then how do you also cut them out? Because I mean, it's just a sheet of stickers. I don't know. I guess that's where I'm kind of. I've never done it myself. I'm just darkening this a teeny bit more. Yeah, I think I like that. It's hard to tell, I know, with her layers down here. And sometimes what I'll do is I'll go back after I get like these strands of hair. I'll go back and try to redefine it with some of the darker colors. I need to take a drink of water. I print collage folder and fussy cut. Oh, interesting. No, I'm not putting kids to work, although my son really should work if he ever wants to see a car in his future. And no, I'm not buying him a car. I should clarify that. But if he wants to borrow my vehicle to drive, because he can get his own car. But they actually are going to start helping because this is black again, by the way. So she's got a bunch of open gaps here. It's like, so you see here, this is all open. This is all open. I'm going to actually turn those into hair instead of like these weird wispies. So we're going to go like that and make it one thing of hair. But yeah, so I had a gal, not a gal, she's my son's age, a girl, helping my Etsy store when I was working at my other job. But because Etsy's going back to being my full-time job, I feel so bad because I'll have to let her go because, you know, I've gotta save money. But I am going to make my kids start helping with the store because you know what? They need to do something. They got all summer. We've actually thought about selling our house. The problem is the market is just ugh. Like I had our realtor let us know how much our house was worth. And it was a glorious amount, but no one's going to buy it for that price. So, because I was like, you know, it'd be cool. Let's just sell our house, take the equity, buy something small in cash, because I'm sick of my kids never cleaning this house anyway. I always wanted a big, glorious house, and now I'm like, what is wrong with me? All I did was just add to my chore list. But yeah, we're kind of stuck here until the housing situation gets a little better. Don't get me wrong, I love my house, but what I would really love is to take all this equity, buy something small in cash, and never have a mortgage again. I like that idea more. Okay. No, the high school's not done, but it's almost done. All it is right now in front of me, like from my view ahead, is a sea of concrete. It's a glorious view. But they're working on the inside mostly now. The exterior's done. They're working on like the parking lot and adding landscaping. The soccer team for the high school is already doing summer camp. So my son's been going to that. He is not doing comp soccer this year. He's taking a break. He wants to go back to rec. So that's one less kid in a comp sport. But my daughter, who's in comp dance, is now doing all 6 routines. So basically, in February till May, every Saturday of my life will be not mine. So, it's fine though. Whatever. But yeah, he has to go over to the new school. Well, not the new school yet because they're not done finishing the soccer field, but he'll be training with the coach of the new school this summer. So it's kind of cool they're doing that. Gives you a chance to get to know the coach. All right, now I'm taking my black and just kind of making sure it's clear that this hair is folding under that hair. Also, I'm taking it and identifying these little wispies that twist it about. Let's see. I don't know if my kids would consider it a learning experience with business. Kids just don't think the way that we all do from our days. I hate using that phrase, but it's so true. I think what I am going to do is she's got this line of hair here. I am going to color that in. Okay, so I'm going to take my black. It's just there's a gap here and then a line here. But I'm going to fill that in. I'm going to leave the gap part, but fill this part here in. Because I feel like it almost flows behind her hair. Okay, and then I got my beaver color. And then the more I pull this away and like come back to it, I'll just be like, oh yeah, that should be hair. Oh no, that shouldn't have been hair. Yeah, I think that works much better because otherwise she just kind of had a floppy thing. Same thing here. I've got like these little wispies here. Like already, I think I'm going to erase these or pencil them in so that they look more like these. But these wispies, I think I'll keep. So I'm going to grab, and I'm using wispy as an official term now. So here's beaver. We're just going to pull strands basically from the ones above it because they're just little wisps of hair. Okay, so I used beaver for that. Now I'm going to use brown. And remember what I said about these little wispies. You'll still color over the line, but then create your own little flicks that kind of go out of the lines because nobody's hair just perfectly wisps about. Although I wish I had perfectly windblown hair. And then just grab the edges and kind of pull some of those out a little more. There we go. Looks a little odd right now, but I might fix it. Okay. So let's get over here. I'm sure wispy is a word. I just don't know how often people use wispy as a word. So I like to use it when I'm describing hair. Wispies. Okay, so here's another example of when I'm coloring hair and I have huge clumps like this. And like I said, I color in the clumps, right? So this here comes along, but all this is under it. So this highlight, I would definitely keep lighter, similar to like how we have it up here. I would keep that lighter. Down here, it would be darker because it's curving away. And then when it comes to anything under this line, these pieces here, I would actually keep darker because they're tucked in right there. This piece here and like all of these here would have a highlight, but I'm not going to have a straight line across. It's going to be uneven because the way, if you look at the way the hair's curving, so the hair's curving this way, and then it's curving this way. So you want to keep in mind that your highlight is going to be different. I would have more of a highlight here because this is curving outward and towards my light. This is a thinner section, so it's not going to have as much. This section right here would have almost no highlight. And then the section that comes down right beneath it would only have a tiny highlight here. Like, does that make sense? When you're looking at your picture and you're trying to kind of like, figure out what do I highlight, what don't I highlight? That's what I do. I stop and think, okay, if this was my hair and I'm looking at it, this strand's going to be wide in the open, but this one isn't. This one definitely isn't. And just look at it by that way in the clumps so you can kind of identify. And like I said, sometimes you have to ignore the artist's lines that they've created for highlights because this right here would be darker even though it looks all white up in here. So just something to keep in mind as you get better with hair. You want to kind of stop and think like, okay, that does need a highlight, but this is all tucked under. So this needs to be darker up top first, no matter what, before it comes down here and lightens up. Bye, Valerie. Okay, so we're gonna take our black, and first thing I'm gonna do is just very lightly kind of create that shadow zone. Now, whatever you do when you're creating these little zones here, don't press like heavy to where you would leave a thick black line that you can never get over. So like just make it light, because I am going to eventually use black right here, but I still need to keep it light. Okay. Now same thing here, it's going to be a little bit darker as it's coming off. So I'm going to use my black because we're coming and curling around from here. So obviously it's not going to be all bright and dandy right there. And like I said, it really helps if you like study pictures of hair on like Pinterest and stuff like that. So you can kind of like get an idea of like, okay, the sun hits hair like that, you know? It helped me a ton when I was first trying to figure out how to do hair. Okay, now we've got beaver. Just gonna fill that in a bit. And you want to keep your strokes light when you're separating two spots, because if I were to start here pulling down and be too heavy pressure and then come back from here and go upward, you're going to see a weird color change right there. So always keep that in mind as well, like light strokes, so that you don't make a big clump of one color is basically what I'm getting at. Okay, I really want to twist the page, but I'll just twist my body instead. Contort my arms. Okay. Then we've got our brown. Bring this around here. I add it right here where I had created that black line so that it's a little less stark. Then again, I'm going to pull it down, but also pull it up. Okay. I'll get this one going over here too. Good old Crayola. Okay. Now we've got burnt sienna. And one common thing I see when people do hair is they automatically make the bottom of their hair lightest or lighter. That's not necessarily like if you look at your hair, how your hair is. So always keep that in mind. Like if I look at my hair, well, I don't want to look at my hair in the mirror right now because my purple faded. So now I have dark brown hair with bleach poking through purple. It's not a good look, but the ends of my hair aren't like full out lighter. They are, not as dark as my roots, obviously, but I often see people do a gradient and then the ends of the hair are left super light. Unless you're bleaching the ends there's still some color that should be coming from everywhere else. You almost kind of treat it not like a highlight, but kind of in between the highlight and your shadowy areas. Unless you're making ombre hair, and then you can totally forget what I just said, but that's a different style of hair. But that's just one thing I've noticed, and so I wanted to point that out. Like you should still have some consistency with your hair coming downward. I really need to do an ombre tutorial. I swear I have a few of those in my hair. I have a hair request file of different pencil brands and colors. I've kept every single one ever asked. I think there's like probably 70 in there now. Crayola was one of the big ones. That's why I was like, well, let's just do that because I really want to color this page. All right, now we got our tan. Hang on, it popped up to let me skip the ads this time, so I skipped them. Now I am using, by the way, the 100 pack of Crayolas, but you can't get those right now unless you go to the store. So I put up the 120 pack. I actually wish I would have just bought the 120 pack. Okay. There we go. Fill that in because that doesn't need a highlight when it's got a bunch of wispies. Okay. Now we're going to take sand and just put that in the center. Maybe a little bit up top too. Because these aren't super opaque, you kind of have to be careful. If you leave a white space specifically for it, it'll work. But it's not like with a Prisma where, say I'm like, oh, you know what would be nice is a highlight right here and I can just literally go over it. I can't do that with Crayola. Okay. Now I'm going to go back because see how it's like a totally different color than all over here? It's just because I've got so many layers in here, but they're not well blended. So I'm just going to take Beaver and just kind of go back in and add my layers until they all blend out a little bit better. But it's because I've got my pencils going in a few different directions here. I'm going down for the ends, back up to meet here. So like this little section just needs a little bit more time. Okay, and then I'm back to brown. I'm just gonna carry that over. And just remember, I want this spot highlighted because it does see more light than down here. And of course, you can change up the light source. If you want the light coming this way, just change where your highlights are. Okay. Then I've got my burnt sienna. And my allergies are just raging mad at me. It's June, and we normally don't have allergies, but it is rough this year. Whew. Okay, and then down here where like her hair ends, I usually tend to, again, create my own wispies. So I don't know about you guys, but the ends of my hair don't just perfectly fall into place. Not without a lot of product. All right, this is tan. Just kind of going back over. I'm trying to keep my hand out of the way too. So I'm holding these pencils at a rather awkward angle for my typical hair coloring style. All right. Oh, thanks, Dee. Okay, so here's sand. Oh, the paper recommendation. Yeah, this is the paper I use when I print PDFs on a white cardstock. And while it's not toothy, I'm not a fan of toothy paper, by the way. I don't like tooth. I'm not a tooth person. This is a pretty smooth cardstock. However, it can take a lot of layers. It takes water well. It doesn't buckle. It's like my favorite. I went to order more on Amazon and it was like, this is the 10th time you've bought it. And I'm like, holy crap. But it's because back in the day I would print out a lot of full PDF books. Now I just put them in a Google Drive. I'm more eco-friendly. I did get a new laser jet. I have a request to do a video about printing PDFs. So I need to do that. However, the biggest thing people need to remember is I use a laser jet. So that is different from an inkjet. Okay, this is brown. But I recommend a laser jet if you plan to use any sort of water-soluble medium or alcohol marker or anything of that sort, or even a really aggressive blending pencil, because I swear inkjets, the ink just whew. Nothing moves off the laser jet. But that's because it's like baked in there. I don't know. I don't know the science behind it, but it just don't move. That's what I know. So I can use like my alcohol markers and whatever I want. And yes, I'm fussing with this section, but it's because I just want it to look right. And something's bothering me about it. But yeah, despite this being pretty smooth, I can add a lot of layers. As you see, just by me putting the pencil down, I've already added a ton of layers. And when I go to do the skin, I'll probably do, with skin I'm lazy, but I'll still do anywhere from 4 to 6 layers for skin on this paper. And it could take more, so it's a pretty good paper. All right, back to my burnt sienna. Just trying to get this one section to blend out a little better is really all I'm doing. I have had people ask about using a blender pencil with their hair. You can, but if you're going to use a blender pencil, I wouldn't use this technique, because then you've just spent hours flicking color in only to blend it back together. So that's just my opinion. Like, I've used blender pencils before, but not if I'm sitting here doing this and flicking all these layers in, because then I just feel like I've just smushed all my hard efforts. So yeah, I don't use blenders when I use this technique. All right, I'm back with my tan. Just get that area a little bit more seamless, I guess is the word I'm looking for. Okay. Hi, Marilyn. Yes, Hannah Lynn hair I use the blenders on, but I don't flick Hannah Lynn hair. Oh wait, don't I have a Hannah Lynn book up here? Wait for it. What the heck? I thought I did. Because I just did that video with my favorite pages or favorite books. I do use blenders with the Hannah Lynn hair, but I color Hannah Lynn hair completely different than portraits. I have a video of how I do Hannah Lynn hair, though, which is, like I said, nothing like I do portrait hair. I don't go for anything realistic whatsoever. Where is that book? This is going to bug me because it was literally on my desk when I went to start my stream, and I know I'm too lazy to walk it downstairs, so that's an interesting little disappearing act. Oh, here it is. Haha. So just for the record, this is a hot mess, but I color Hannah Lynn hair differently than like portrait hair. So I use Prismacolors because it's on Create Space paper, and I blend them out. In fact, I have like a ton of, where's another good example? This one's my favorite color combo to use. I have a ton of shorts that I put on my YouTube for how I do Hannah Lynn hair, including all the combos. More of them are now reels on my Instagram because YouTube shorts are just full of trolls. So I was like, screw this. So check out my YouTube shorts and then also my Instagram reels, because there was a period where I was doing like nothing but Hannah Lynn hair all day long. And so I shared quite a few combos and the techniques for them. And then I do have a video here on my channel of nothing but Hannah Lynn hair. So if you like want to see how my technique for doing Hannah Lynn hair, which is obviously nothing like this, but it is on there somewhere. Okay. I think I like it. Like I said, I'll take a picture because it's funny. On camera, I'm like, this looks so light, but in person, I'm like, it is not that light. So it's always so hard to tell. But let's see. I think what I'll do is, I think I'm going to tackle these slightly darker sections. When I color hair / anything, really, I put all of my pencils in my non-dominant hand, and I just kind of hold them and pluck from them. And it just, I don't know, it's my thing. But I've had people ask about why I do that, and there's really no no actual reason. I don't know. I enjoy the fact they're all right here and I can just swap them out. I loathe the idea of placing the pencil down. I'm like, oh, that's so much time wasted. And it's usually when I'm doing something like this, hair, or coloring in something that, excuse me, coloring in something that like requires me to have all my colors out constantly. Like, it's just pointless to put it down. Now, if I went through her whole head of hair and only put down the black and then went back to the other ones, then yeah, I probably wouldn't sit here clutching 6 pencils, but it's just an odd little thing of mine. A quirk. So now I've got my beaver color. Like I said, these ones are going to be darker because they are tucked back here. Okay. Hi, Emily. Okay. Oh, Melissa found the shorts and the Instagram stuff. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right, here's brown. I still keep meaning to finish those because I have a few pages more of hair to do. It was so relaxing. In fact, I should just go back to that. It was just a month of me, my Prismas, and Hannah Lynn hair. And something about it was so soothing. I literally didn't color anything else on the pages. I was just simply going through and coloring the hair. Just because it relaxed me. I like got into this mood. This is burnt sienna. I had gotten into this mood and I was like, I just feel like coloring Hannah Lynn hair. It's fun. It's easy. It can be quirky. So could this, but you know what I mean. And yeah, that's what started that whole thing. And then I just started sharing them because I was like, well, I might as well show you guys the combos I'm doing. And then all of a sudden, yeah, I got well over halfway through a book and it's just all hair colored. I'll have to go back and finish the pages, but I'll let you guys in on a dirty little secret. Half of me wants to go and buy another copy of that same Enchanted Faces book, which would mean what? I own like 5 of them now because I have the PDF version too that I printed out, but it's not as satisfying for some reason. But yeah, part of me wants to go buy it and start all over with the hair combos. And I'm sitting here like, oh my gosh, what is wrong with me? I'm gonna sit here and color Hannah Lynn hair for the next 6 years, apparently. But you know what? That was when I realized I no longer, this is Beaver, no longer care about having whips. I just color whatever is calling to me on the page and relaxes me in that moment. And if that means I don't have any actual completed pages at the end of the month, I really don't care because I was relaxed doing all that Hannah Lynn hair. This is brown. But yeah, I'm heavily tempted to buy another copy of that freaking book just to sit there and do a bunch of new hair color combos. I might use the PDF one because I do have the PDF one. Thing is, it was a pain. I had to print it all out and cut all the pages, but this is burnt sienna. I might do that and for this next round. We'll see. But it was fun. It was relaxing. And now talking about it, I want to do it again. Let me drink some water. You know, Crayolas are an interesting beast, right? So I bought the Crayola watercolor pencils, and they actually performed really well on Johanna Basford page, and I was comparing them to other watercolor pencils because yes, I am actually still working on the watercolor pencil battle, believe it or not. It wasn't forgotten. But I was pleasantly surprised, this is black by the way, I was pleasantly surprised at the performance of the Crayola watercolor pencils, especially compared to some actual artist brand and more expensive brands. And I'm sitting there going, this is freaking Crayola. They were very vibrant and it was just like, what on earth? So Crayola is an interesting little wonder. Don't underestimate the name. I'm not saying it's like going to hold up to, you know, my Albrecht Dürers or anything, but the color payout on those Crayolas was mighty impressive. All right, Beaver. Same thing with the hair here. They actually do quite well with the hair, but it's because it's a harder lead. The pigment doesn't come out. It doesn't leave wax bloom. You don't get a bunch of buildup. Funny enough, considering it is a budgety pencil, the filler doesn't screw with my technique for creating hair. So that's nice too, because there's a lot of cheaper pencils I still can't use for hair because the buildup is just too much from all the ick in them. All right. Okay, so that one's going to have a highlight. Excuse me. Please, no one thumbs me down for coughing. I have allergies. I'm only human. I swear. Thanks, Mona. You're so sweet. Museums come first. So it's funny about museums. I only use those in specific situations because one, they're meant for their light fast, right? Not really for adult coloring books. I bought them for that, but they're really, it's the light fast. They're heavily pigmented too. Holy shamoly. They're not as transparent as other watercolor pencils either, but the color payout is gorgeous. However, please do not compare museum aquarelles to Inktense because they are not the same thing. Burnt sienna. I had to get into a big debate with someone the other day, and I was like, no, for real, these are not the same thing. Inktense are not watercolor pencils. I don't know how else to keep putting this out there. That's why they're not in the watercolor pencil battle. All right. I've got my burnt sienna, but I'm trying to leave a nice jagged area for my pretty little highlight up in here. We don't like ick. Tan. I have been, speaking of ick, I have been playing with the Derwent Chroma Flow. Not gonna lie, it's been hard because I don't like the pencil. I'm reviewing the pencil, and don't worry, just because I dislike the pencil, I will give you an honest review. If you don't believe me, watch my Holbein review. I'm very honest in my review of Holbeins. I praise them for the things they need to be praised for. I also criticize the things they need to be criticized over. But despite the fact that I hated Holbeins, I even said in my Holbein review, just because I hate them doesn't mean the world needs to. Same thing will apply with the Chroma Flow. I really loathe these pencils, but I am working with them for the sake of science. So I will have a review soon. It's just a matter of me forcing myself to sit down and use them and, not cringe. But I'm getting there. Just, yeah, they're just not as satisfying. I'm sorry, Derwent. So sorry. Yeah, and that was the thing with ink tints. Ink tints are, in fact, a water-soluble ink that's reconstituted. However, it is permanent. It doesn't lift. It doesn't even wash. You can literally use it to color something on your clothes and throw it in the washing machine. It's going to stay there. If I did that with a watercolor pencil, one, it's not going to even absorb into like a cotton shirt in the first place. And if by some miraculous way I got it to stick to my cotton shirt, it'll wash right on out. But ink tints are ink. It's an ink pigment. I mean, it's just, I don't want to get into that. So we won't. But I had quite a few people that were like, ink tints are the best watercolor pencil. Like, but they're not, never mind. Now, museum aquarelles are heavily pigmented and are watercolor pencils. So if you want a watercolor pencil that's super vibrant, more opaque, and lots of pigment, then there you go. And then you're using something that is in fact a watercolor pencil. So then you can be correct and satisfied with the color output all at the same time. All right. There we go. See, we got our little shadow from the hair curving under there, which is perfect. And we're just going to, I'm going to add my tan right here, make that look a little bit lighter. But yeah, now we have our little shadow from her hair curving up under this luscious little strand of hair. So that's kind of how I picture that when I'm doing it, or when I tried to explain it earlier, is this is going above, therefore there needs to be a shadow. Plus, how I look at it is this is curving under, up, and then back over. So you have to have a shadow there because it's coming under something. So that's why I was trying to point that out. And maybe it's better now that you can see it. I don't know. Or maybe that makes no sense. So hang on one seckie. So I'm going to zoom it out more just so you can see the whole thing. There you go. Now I can see her whole head. So you can see it a little better. And like I said, I'll take a picture too. But what I'm going to do is pull the winner of the second winner for the PDF. Again, if you've already entered, you don't need to enter again. It'll keep a record, hopefully. It did kind of screw up last time. But yeah, it'll just be for the PDF of this PDF here in particular. So you can either follow along or do whatever you want with it. And then let's see who wins the second one. So it is Sue. And I hope you entered, because Nightbot was being weird last week or the week before. So if you did in fact enter, go ahead and shoot me an email to the email address pinned above. And then that way I can send you your copy. I'll go and buy the 2 copies from VanDyke's art and send them your way. You'll get the whole PDF. So it comes with like a dark, light, and sepia version. But with her art, I always print the light. But you can print whatever, floats your boat. So yeah, this is as far as we got in 2 hours. Like I said, hair takes a while. Now, if I wasn't live streaming and like looking at chat, I would have probably progressed further or stopping and like explaining everything. But the whole point of this live stream was to, also teach you the technique and not just say, hey, put these colors on paper. Because I was trying to explain why a highlight was a highlight where I put it. So hopefully that helped a little. But yeah, it's not too bad with the Crayolas, to be honest. I mean, would I have a better color with my favorite pencil? Yes. But I just wanted to prove that you could go buy some cheap Crayolas for your hair. And like, look how much pencil, because I only sharpened once before starting and then once midstream. So I've done all that hair and I haven't even dented these. So, I mean, it's nice when you have a cheap pencil that still does pretty results and you're not going to sit there and sharpen it away and it'll be gone. Like Brute Fooner squares, I went through them so quickly doing hair. Oh my gosh, those poor things never had a chance. So yeah, always keep that in mind and never like discount a budget pencil or discount it by the name because it still makes pretty hair. So I will take a picture and throw it on the community tab for you guys. Oh, Emily, were you lurking, Emily? um, so yeah, I'll take a picture and throw it on the community tab and maybe my Instagram. I need to get on there more. But thanks everyone for hanging out. I hope you have a good rest of your Sunday and I will see you guys very soon. So bye now.